this is Rob Barnett. We're backstage at the Centrum in Worcester with Robert Plant. Robert, this is a whole new approach for you musically. It's not regressive. It's not Led Zeppelin. You couldn't call it new wave, but it's a whole new sound. How did it come about?
I think a lot of hard work and a lot of sort of picking into the unknown to try and create something. I think the first album, Pictures at 11, really probably was a little of a tailback. There was a certain amount of material that probably was quite relative to the Zeppelin feel. But this time, with Principle of Moments, it's been a definite... We've actually grown within our own capacity to actually do fresh stuff.
Do you feel there's a new audience discovering Robert Plant, the solo artist, for the first time?
The age group, the gap in age from
Remarkable.
16 to like 35, 40 years old is fantastic. But there is a young, clean, attractive audience. And there is a sort of 30-year-old, clean, attractive audience. There are a lot of pretty people, a lot of happy people. There's not that kind of sort of drug-orientated problem that used to be in the early 70s. Everybody is smiling. Everybody's looking okay. The audience looks very healthy and very well. It's a good advertisement for America, really. At my age, perhaps I should have grown out of it, but this is such a great challenge to take this new thing on with as much enthusiasm as I've got. In fact, we've all got. And after all that time, all the blues that you get in the middle of it all, and am I doing the right thing? Should I stop now? And all that sort of thing. In Peoria, Illinois, I walked out on the stage, and from the stairs at the back of the stage to the microphone, it took me about 7 years just to walk that distance. And as I touched the microphone, my legs went, my throat dried up, everything. But there wasn't a happier person, I don't think, you could find.
Thanks, Rob Barnett, and special thanks to Robert Plant for coming down here tonight, too.
Returned to the UK by opening his tour at the Apollo. An excellent show it was, too. I managed to have a quick chat with Robert backstage at the Apollo just a few minutes before he faced the audience. Well, we'll hear what he had to say after this track from Principle of Moments, Other Arms.
Well, we're backstage at the Apollo, and sitting in front of me a man who's about to go on stage, first time in front of a UK audience in 3-4 years, Robert Plant.
Yeah, 1979. Good evening, hello, nice to be back again. Well, you probably know because you've spoken to me before, within the last 2.5 years, I always wanted to play a provincial tour of Britain. I mean, it's like, there's an element of all this, apart from success, that compels you to play and to do and to be, just like pantomime and theatre and a general touring vibe, if you like. It's part and parcel, the whole adrenaline thing, and the idea of Nebworth was very mighty, and it proved a million points if there was anything to prove. But it's not so exciting as knowing that tonight's Glasgow and tomorrow night's Edinburgh. Yeah?
Are you nervous tonight?
I'm not sure. I purposely went to America to warm up for the British Isles this time, because there's always such a big fuss about preparing yourself for America, going to Iceland or Denmark or whatever it is to get ready for the hordes. Well, I reckon you're as good as you are on the night. You can have bad nights, you can have good nights, but you're never going to be desperately bad, you know, so you might as well just get on with it. No point in considering whether you're nervous or not. Within 10 minutes you're okay, whatever happens.
And how did it go over in the States?
Extremely successful. Really good. I mean, some nights we broke box office records, which is like fantastic. And other nights it was 3/4 full and nobody complained. The audience had been told and had it rammed down their throats there was no Zeppelin material, so what we got was an audience who came only to listen to what I wanted to do now, you know. I mean, as much as I'm very proud of the past, as I said to you before, I don't consider it my password anymore, you know. So in America I thought I was going to get all sorts of stick, you know, lots of shouting and careering. But the audience had changed. The audience had listened and they'd realised that there was a definite tactical, intentional change in the music, and they came because of that, you know. And they also respected the fact that without Bonzo and Jimmy and Jonesy, just because I'm the singer, I shouldn't go on and do Black Dog and Celebration Days. It's like joining a group and doing, being in one group, joining another one, and doing the hits from the two bands, and there's a lot of that about now, you know.
Ready?
Without being bitchy, yeah.
Not too many people calling out for the old classics in the States too.
None.
Not a one.
Not one. We had people going around the building checking it out and just listening. The audience had changed. As the music has changed, yeah, the age group was quite dramatically different from 14 to 40. But women were returning to the concerts, and they were pretty women, and they were well dressed, and they weren't frightened of the massive hoarding, sort of bombarding fury that used to be. So the music had achieved its point there, and it remains to be seen whether it has or not here, you know. I mean, it's still pretty intense and pretty dynamic and dramatic at times, but I've intentionally cleaned up certain parts of it. And let's face it, there's that many bands around who have got a dirty, edgy, far more sexual, macho sound. But it's nothing new, you know. I remember that in 1969, and I think A Whole Lot of Love really summed all that whole thing up. So every time I see somebody with armbands on with studs sticking out and all that sort of thing, I yawn a little bit, you know.
Seen it all before?
A little bit, yeah.
Big Log, top 10 single. How surprised were you with that?
I was thrilled and obviously really surprised. Again, following the same intention and principle, I argued with the record company, especially in America, and said it's got to be the single. And they would say, Other Arms, In the Mood, anything but that, you know. That would be their last choice because it was so characteristically not me. But you've got to be pretty short. You've got to have pretty short vision if you think. What I wanted to do was to get through to a woman in Perth who was washing up, or a guy in Argyle who was fixing his nets. You know, I mean, what I wanted to do was to say, look, I'm not in a pigeonhole. I don't come out when the moon's bright and go to bed when the sun comes up and all that stuff. I sing songs and I write songs, and this is one aspect of my writing, just like the Rain song was, you know, and just like All My Love was. It's just as relevant in a way. It's a love song. It's very personal. It has its ambiguities. It has its dual meanings and all that sort of thing. And it actually went out to people who would never have dreamed of listening to the material that I've been associated with before. It's a renaissance for me. The whole thing is. It's great.
It was also played on daytime radio, which possibly the old Zeppelin material would never have been before.
Never, no. And what it's done, really, I mean, I remember when I came up here and Burning Down One Side was a single. It was a little harsh for daytime radio because people obviously do their homework, radio stations like your own, check on what people listen to, what time of day. They don't want to be offended, you know. And without doing a Barry Manilow, which is not my intention, I'm not here to sell records, I'm here to prove my point. That was, without compromising my art, or whatever you want to call it, that was the best way of proving that you can teach an old dog new tricks, you know, and the old dog can teach everybody else a little bit.
Glasgow, the first night of the UK tour. Any significance in this, or was it just the way it worked out?
It's what I wanted. I wanted to start here.
Why?
I don't know, because I've been here a couple of times, actually, even since I met you, and snuck around the city quietly.
You were spotted in Argyle Street.
That's right, yeah. It's a funny place to be in it. And I really liked the place. I liked the people I met. I found it a very warm town. I also liked the way that everybody else shuddered at the idea of Glasgow. Glasgow, oh no. Glasgow's great. It's a great town. Very hip, very aware, very sensitive. And it has its fair share of rock and roll. And what I'm doing is just another part of that colour in all the rock and roll. I wanted to start here and work down, if you like.
Well, that was to do with the two-step. That particular track is full of meaning. Can you tell us what that was written about? It sounds a very personal song.
Well, yeah, I guess they all are. I mean, they are usually right from first-hand experience, but sometimes when I observe things, I take it from the third person, so like he or she were doing this, and I turn it into me and them, you know. So it makes it personal. When you read books, I enjoy reading books where the guy who's written it is actually, he's involved in the whole thing, you know, rather than being an observer. And so some of the things mean something to me and some of them don't. But I always write in the first person, singular. I should think about changing it, really, otherwise everybody does think that everything I think about has got something to do with me. But it's a nice song, and it is. Through with this two-step and all that sort of cutting it close. I'm just getting down to the nitty-gritty now. I'm a working man and really cutting out all the bullshit, basically. That's really what it means.
The band that you have on stage tonight and for the whole of the UK tour, slightly different from what you had in the States.
Only by one member. Phil Collins has gone on to... I've received a singing telegram from him a minute ago. He's in Canada, and Richie Haywood from Little Feet's with us tonight.
I admired her as she came up the stairs, your singing telegram.
Yeah, she wasn't that bad, was she? Must be cold walking around Glasgow looking like that.
Richie was with Little Feet.
Mm-hmm. Little Feet, Ry Cooder and Joan Almond Trading. So he's got a good track record.
And the rest of the band is as...
As was in America. Robbie Blunt on guitar, Jez Woodruff keyboards, Paul Martinez bass, and Bob Mayo on guitar and keyboards.
Now, tonight's show, you're going to do, obviously, the two solo LPs.
Mm-hmm.
Any other material that you'll be doing that perhaps hasn't come onto vinyl yet?
Well, no, we've got other stuff that we can do, but I think it's the wrong mood for what we're doing right now. I mean, if we do another tour next year, then there is... I want to do another couple of singles first to open the door to the different stuff that I've done. But I think the way that the stuff expands on stage, the new material now, although it's only drawn from 2 LPs, imagine if I was starting all over again and I hadn't got 13 or 14 records to my credit, or to whatever it is, then I would have to make do with 2 albums of material. So it is reasonably colourful. You know, I mean, we can get by with it.
No support act tonight?
No, well, we play for over 2 hours. And I think, really, after all this time, I wouldn't like to get agitated if the support act was playing a little too long, or if the crowd was eager to get them off and get us on or anything like that. It just makes it a bit too twitchy. And backstage before a gig, as you can see, is minorly twitchy as it is, you know.
How far advanced is album number 3?
Well, if I suppose that there's enough stuff to make half an album, really. But I want to start fresh and do all sorts of different material again. So I'm going to Australia and Japan after Christmas, and Hong Kong and Thailand playing. And then we're all going to sit down and write when we get back and see what our travels have given us, idea-wise.
You find it difficult to write whilst on the road?
It's very, very hard in the middle of all this, it being my first English tour, British tour, Scotland and Wales included, to sit down with a guitar. And besides that, I don't really think that way of writing is very expansive now. I mean, things like Reckless Love and Stranger Here Than Over There, and Through With the Two-Step, if you like, can't be written in a hotel room. You know, you need a certain atmosphere, a certain mood, a certain temperament to do it. And from midday until 2 o'clock tomorrow is not the time to do it, you know.